Hello everyone! Today I am here to share all of my most anticipated book releases coming out in summer. I like to do these a lot. You guys know I feel like I just did a spring one and here we are in summer. So yeah, I do one for the whole year, and then I kind of break it up seasonally where I'll do spring, summer, fall, and winter, you know, things like that. And we're here on summer. So the books I'll be talking about today are going to be released in June, July, and August, quintessentially here in the US, these summer months. And these are books that I'm interested in. They're not all the books because, goodness me, if I talked about every single book that's going to be released in the next 3 months, we would be here forever. But these are the ones that I'm most interested in. And I'm sure I'm going to miss some because I try to do my research and then a lot of times I fail at it because a lot of people will be like, oh, did you forget about this book? And I'm like, didn't even know about it. So yeah, I'm not the best at it, but these are all the books I am interested in. So I'm going to talk about them. Some I've already read and some I'm really anticipating. So let's get into it. The first few books I believe are already out because they got released at the very beginning of June 1st. The first one being Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid, one of my most anticipated books of the entire year. I'm sure a lot of you guys are also anticipating it. I've read all of her books. I've done a whole author video on her. I've given every single one of her books a 5-star, and I've already read this one. And I really loved it. It's about this family, the Riva family, and basically we follow a whole slew of siblings, and it takes place in one night at one of the siblings' house. She's like a swimsuit model and like a surfer swimsuit model, and she has a party every year, and the whole book takes place over the day of the party, like the day leading up to the party and then the night of the party. And it's all about their history. There's 4 siblings and you learn more about them, about their parents, about their parents' parents. And it's just a really in-depth look into family. And I really loved it. It does take place in 1983. There's a lot of fictional celebrities in it. And it's a great one. It's not my favorite Taylor Jenkins Reid book, but I really loved it. It put me in the summer mood. Highly recommended. Yeah, first book of the summer. Next up, another book that also released on June 1st is Instructions for Dancing by Nicola Yoon. This is her latest book, her third one. It's a YA contemporary. If I'm not mistaken, if it's not YA, let me know, but I think it's YA. It's about a character named Evie who doesn't believe in love anymore, and basically she finds herself at this dance studio learning how to waltz, and she starts to dance with this guy named X. And X is passionate, adventurous, and everything that Evie is not. And basically falling for X is definitely not what Evie had in mind. She's forced to question all she thought she knew about life and love. In the end, is love worth the risk? One of my favorite YA contemporary books is The Sun Is Also a Star. Yet to see the movie, but I am so excited to read this. It's very, very short, surprisingly. It's like less than 300 pages, but the cover is amazing. I really love Nicola Yoon's books, so I have high expectations for this one. Next up, also on June 1st, this is my last June 1st book, so there we go. One Last Stop by Casey McQuiston. I always have a hard time pronouncing her name. This is an adult romance book, and this is about a girl named August who moves to New York City, and she's very cynical in life. She's cynical with love, everything that has to do with that. And so she doesn't believe in that kind of stuff. And then she meets this beautiful, gorgeous girl on the train. And her name is Jane. She's dazzling and she's got her rough edges and swoopy hair. And Jane doesn't look like an old school punk rocker. She's literally displaced in time from the 1970s. So August's gonna have to use everything she tried to leave in her own past to help her. Maybe it's time to start believing in some things after all. So does this have a time travel element into it? I'm not sure, but I loved Red, White, and Royal Blue that she released. It's been a couple years now, hasn't it? So I'm really excited for this one. Next up is one I'm currently reading. By the time this goes up, I'll be finished with it. We Can't Keep Meeting Like This by Rachel Lynn Solomon, a YA contemporary book. This follows a character named Quinn who is in the wedding business. Like her parents have this wedding company where they are wedding planners, and her parents really want Quinn to follow in their footsteps. Like they want her to go to a particular college and take all these business classes and take over the business one day. And Quinn doesn't really want that, but she doesn't know how to voice what she wants. Meanwhile, with this takes place during the summer, she runs into her old flame, Tariq, and she really loves him. She like poured her heart out into an email last summer, like saying, hey, before you go to college, like, I love you. And like, he never emailed back. And she's like, what the heck? So they meet up again because he also works in the wedding business. His family's like in the catering business, so they're obviously at weddings a lot together, and it's a lot of like animosity between them. So it's basically takes place over the summer with a lot of weddings, Quinn trying to figure out what she wants to do with her future, also while dealing with her feelings with Tariq because she's still crushing on him hard, but he didn't reciprocate her feelings, so she's feeling very crushed. So I started it. I'm only like 70 pages in. It's cute so far, but I've read all of her books. I love them. You guys know this. Next up, another one I have already read is Very Sincerely Yours by Carrie Winfrey. This one releases on June 15th. All I can tell you about this one, it's like a You've Got Mail book. If you love You've Got Mail, I would recommend this book. We follow Teddy and Everett, and Teddy works at like this vintage toy store, and she's very lost with her life, but she watches this children's like local program called Everett's Place, where stars Everett. He's got like a ton of puppets, like think young Mr. Rogers, Jim Henson, and she's like, I'll email him for advice. And so they start an email conversation. That's kind of the whole gist of the book. It's just a really sweet romance book. I really liked it and would recommend it again if you have watched and loved You've Got Mail. And the last book I have in June, I have also already read. You guys know I'm trying to read a lot of stuff early because my family's expanding in the beginning of September, so I'm not going to have a lot of time soon. But anyway, that book is Survive the Night by Riley Sager. This is his newest one. This is an adult thriller. We follow a character named Charlie who has to like hitch for a ride home to leave her college, and so she goes on this rideshare thing. This takes place in the early 90s, if I'm not mistaken, and this guy likes like, hey, I'll give you a ride, da 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 da, and they leave in the middle of the night, and the more they drive, the more Charlie's like, I really don't know who this guy I'm riding with is. Like, who is he? Could he be the campus killer? Because also in our college, there has been a few deaths, and there's been like a killer, and they've been named him the campus killer. So she's like, am I riding with the campus killer? This takes place all in one night. It's very fast-paced. It's very edge of your seat kind of stuff. It's not my favorite Riley Sager book, but I did really enjoy it and would recommend it. Moving on to July. July 1st, I have another thriller, Dream Girl by Laura Lippman. She's written a lot of books. Haven't read any of them, so if you know if I would like her books or not, let me know. I just saw this one. I was like, it looks interesting. This says, how can a woman who never existed come back to haunt you? So we follow Gary Anderson, who's been having trouble sleeping. He's unwell, and his night nurse and his personal assistant is his only company. What's really troubling him are phone calls. Phone calls from a woman claiming to be the real Aubrey, but that can't be because Aubrey is a character that Jerry made up in a book years ago. Basically, it's a book that's really confusing the lines of fact versus fiction. So it sounds interesting. Again, she's written a ton of books. Will I like them? You'll have to let me know. A new Tessa Bailey book comes out on July 13th, and that is It Happened One Summer. Basically, this is Schitt's Creek like meets like a rom-com type of thing, which sounds amazing to me. We follow Piper, who is a rich party girl. She gets sent to run her stepfather's dive bar in Washington, and she meets Brendan, who's a surly, that's right, it's a surly sea captain. So it sounds like a perfect summer like romance book. I love Tessa Bailey books, so this one should probably be a great one to read in the summer, as I've said repeatedly. Another one that comes out on the 13th that I have already read is While We Were Dating by Jasmine Gilroy. This one follows Ben, who works for like this marketing company, and basically the book starts with him pitching like the marketing, team to get hired, and in walks in this really big new movie star named Ava is her name. I think I said Anna in the review. Oh, I'm horrible. But she is like the face of this big like, what am I trying to say here? Ben's trying to get the job for his marketing company to pitch this cell phone, and Ava is the face of the cell phone. She's going to be in all the commercials and things like that, and so they head it off, and it's kind of about them, and they decide to maybe fake date to get her some more publicity. It was cute. It's Jasmine Gilroy's books, as I've said time and time again, aren't very memorable, but they're good summer reads. Like if you just want a book to take on the beach or by the pool or something, it's a good one. And the last one I have on July 13th is another book I've already read. I promise I haven't read all of these, and that is The Final Girl Support Group by Grady Hendrix. This is a adult horror. I'm just gonna say it. I classify it as a horror, so I'm just gonna throw it out there. It's all about final girls, aka the last girl standing at the end of a horror movie. So you follow this one character, I think her name's Lynette, and she is a final girl, and she believes that, people are hunting down the final girl. She has a group that they meet every like month, and they're all final girls, and she believes that somebody is trying to kill them all. And so she goes on a mission, and it's very 90s heavy. I would say it's got a lot of nods to like Scream, Halloween, Friday the 13th, those classic horror movies. In fact, some of the like final girls like stories are like taken exactly from those movies, but I'd say if you're not a fan of gore, if you're not a fan of horror, this one's intense. Like it definitely gave me nightmares, but I'm a chicken, so let that be known, I guess. So whether you can handle it or not, I enjoyed it. It was good, but it scared me a lot. Another thriller coming out in July 20th, we have False Witness by Karen Slaughter. She's written so many thriller books. I've read, I think, like 2 of them. So this is a new standalone novel, which she doesn't do a lot. A lot of her books are within series, so this is kind of a big deal, I think. It's about a girl, it's about a girl named Lee who gets a call from one of her firm partners that wants her to defend a wealthy man accused in multiple count of rape. So she doesn't have much choice to take this case unless she doesn't want to keep her job anymore. And so she goes to him and sees him face to face. She realizes that it's no coincidence that he specifically asked for her. She knows him and he knows her. More to the point, he may know what happened over 20 years ago and why Lee has spent 2 decades avoiding her past. And so basically it's about this whole case and things like that. Karen Slaughter, she also writes a lot of intense thrillers, so I'm excited for this one. I'm also apprehensive because, as I've said previously, I'm a big chicken, so will I be able to handle this? I'm gonna try. That's all I'm gonna say about it. So on July 20th, we have For Your Own Good by Samantha Downing, another thriller that I have read. This one takes place in like this private school, and basically a whole bunch of murders happen. You follow a slew of people, including some teachers, and it's no secret of who done it. You know from the get-go kind of who's done it. It's kind of the dichotomy of different characters and how horrible they all are, honestly, and what motives they have behind doing the bad things they're doing. And it wasn't my favorite. I read her 2 other books before and loved them. This one I definitely did not like. That could just be me. I'm not the biggest fan of books set in private, like boarding schools. I don't know what it is, but take that with a grain of salt. July 27th, I have Not a Happy Family by Sherry LaPena. This is another adult thriller. There's a lot of thrillers that come out in the summer because I think the biggest time to read thrillers are the summer and the fall. That's when I read them the most, honestly. I've read a lot of her books before. They're decent thrillers, I'll say. I haven't read a book by her that I absolutely have loved. But this one is about a family that keeps secrets, and it's about a particular place called Brecon Hill, which takes place in New York, in upstate New York. To be rich to live there. A family, the Mertons, are brutally murdered the night after an Easter dinner with their 3 adult kids, who of course are devastated, or are they? They each stand to inherit millions, so maybe it's one of the kids. So they were never a happy family. It says, after all, if one of your siblings was a psychopath, you'd know, wouldn't you? I mean, that's the age-old question. Is it? This sounds intense. I'm excited to read it. And then lastly, in July, I have Heartbreak for Hire by Sonia Hartel. I've already read this. It's an adult romance book. It's about a character named Brinkley who works at this place called Heartbreak for Hire, where they take down men. They're different departments. Like one deals with like men that are cons. One deals with men that are cheaters. Brinkley deals with men who are the egos, like who are really egotistical. So she gets hired to like embarrass them, take them down a few notches, and she meets this guy one night she's assigned to, and she realizes that she has feelings for him. And the next thing you know, her boss is like, hey, we're gonna hire some men to, take down women. And so who walks in but the guy that she's really attracted to? It was okay. I think I just didn't love the fact that it was all about taking people down. I'm not a big revenge person, so I don't know, maybe you'll like it. So our last month is August. We have The Dating Dare by J.C. Lee, which comes out on August 3rd. This is about a girl named Tara Park who has a rule that's like no serious relationships. And so she meets her best friend's new brother-in-law walks into her life. She might be willing to bend her golden rule, but only for 4 dates. And so the guy, Seth, he can't believe that she agreed to go on his 4 dates, like the dating dare is what they call it. And I think basically they probably fall in love, and what was supposed to be a fun little game turns into something that neither of them are ready for. I read her previous book, A Sweet Mess, and I really liked it last year. Sorry, I blanked on the name of it. It sounds cute. Again, with summertime, I read mostly romance and thrillers, so this one sounds really cute. Next up, we have If the Shoe Fits by Julie Murphy, which also gets released on August 3rd. It's like her debut adult book, so that's awesome. We have a character named Cindy who is just graduated with a degree in shoe design. That's pretty awesome. And basically, her stepmother, who happens to be the executive producer of America's favorite reality show before midnight. And so they need a spot on the show to be filled, and they ask Cindy, and she agrees. And basically, turns out to be the only plus-size woman on a reality dating show makes a splash, and soon Cindy becomes body positivity icon for women everywhere. What she doesn't expect that she just might find inspiration and love in the process. This sounds a lot like One to Watch by Kate Stayman London. Where's it at? Right here, which was also like a reality-based book, show-based book about a plus-size character. I'm plus size myself, so I'm down to read it. On August 10th, I have a book I have already read, and that is Wait For It by Jen McKinley. A book by her last year called Paris is Always a Great Idea, and loved it, so I really enjoyed this one as well. In this book, we actually follow the sister of that main character in Paris is Always a Good Idea. Do you need to read them both? Not really. It doesn't really give anything away for the first book, honestly. But this way, we follow a character named Annabelle who is only like 29. She's already been divorced twice, and she is, ready for a change. So when her best friend Sophie offers her a job in Arizona, she's like, okay, I'll take it. So she moves there, and she stays in like this guest house, this really recluse guy that she doesn't ever see. His name's Nick Darren. He's like she doesn't know who he is. But eventually they meet, and he has had a lot happen to him. He's also like in his 30s, and he's had a stroke happen to him in the past couple years, and he's really just kind of disappeared from life. He kind of taken himself out of like social things. And of course they strike up a relationship, and it's just a really cute romance book with some depth to it. I really enjoyed it. I need to read all of her books, honestly. Then on August 31st, we have The Heart Principle by Helen Hoang. This is the third and I believe the final book in the Kiss Quotient series. It's been so many years. I remember putting this on my most anticipated releases last year, and it got pushed back. So I'm very, very excited for this one. This one follows Quan, who has been in the 2 previous books and about his new relationship, and I'm so excited for it. I have heard that it is very intense. Like, there's a lot of trigger warnings in it. There's a lot of really sad things in it, so I have to gear myself up for it. But I loved her 2 previous books, so I can't wait to read this one. And the last book I have is the new Paula Hawkins book called A Slow Fire Burning. So if you don't know who Paula Hawkins is, she wrote The Girl on the Train, aka that was the first thriller I've ever read. Yes, I'm a thriller newbie still. Just take that with you will. But since it was the first thriller I've ever read, I kind of hold like a special place in my heart for it. And I read her other book, what was it, Into the Water, a few years ago. It's been a while. It was okay, but I'm excited to see what she's going to do. This is about a young man who's found gruesomely murdered in a London houseboat. It triggers questions about 3 women who knew him. So we follow 3 different women that have connections to the victim. When it comes to revenge, even good people might be capable of terrible deeds. How far might any one of them go to find peace? How long can secrets smolder before they explode into flames? I have hopes for it. Do I think I'll love it? I don't know. Paula Hawkins is so wishy-washy when it comes to thriller books, at least with other people think. I really like The Girl on the Train. I still haven't seen the movie. I don't know if I plan to, but I like the book a lot. There, I said it, but I'm excited to read it. So there you have it. Those are all the summer book releases that I'm excited for. I would love to hear what books you're excited for that are coming out in the next 3 months. Did I miss any? I'm sure I did. Let me know. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.